Thousands of climate change activists around the world are taking part in a 2-week protest calling for urgent government action to reduce carbon emissions.
Yeah, an event in London organised by Extinction Rebellion caused significant disruption yesterday. Activists set up blockades and some chained themselves to vehicles and railings. Tim Muffet was there.
The rhythm of London radically altered. Grievances, gridlock. Teresa is a 61-year-old carer from Scarborough.
Scientists have told us unless we change the way we're living, we're heading for a mass extinction. It's going to be a horror show.
What about the disruption you're causing to ordinary people going about their everyday lives?
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
We say we're very sorry, but it's the only way we can make our government pay attention. With non-violent direct action, we are all using the system that is being given to us. I drive a diesel van, I'm not proud of it, but it's the only way until our governments can create better, cheaper public transport, bring out electric cars that are cheap.
You're protesting and you drive a diesel van?
I do.
That does seem kind of odd, to be honest.
It does seem kind of odd, but I haven't got a lot of money. I can't afford to spend however much it is on an electric car.
Hiten normally crisscrosses London in his taxi. Not today.
What impact is it having on your livelihood?
Well, I'm just sitting in traffic, doing nothing, polluting the climate even more. If you get the emission tested around this zone, it's going to be high, definitely. We're not moving.
What's your message to the protesters?
Plastic bottles, all those things, we are trying to change. But you can't force overnight change, I would say, you know?
As with previous protests, this one has celebrity support.
None of us would need to be here if governments were doing what they need to be doing, but they're not.
Many people say, oh, there's a level of hypocrisy because a lot of these people here will drive cars, they'll fly. I mean, you're a successful actor, no doubt you fly, or do you fly?
I fly when I have to, but I'm trying to reduce flying it. But I mean, what Extinction Rebellion say, it's not about, you know, it's very important to take personal measures, but there's a huge issue here. What they're calling for is government action.
Would you be arrested for this cause?
Well, I would, but preferably not today, but I would be arrested if I needed to be.
2 weeks of protests are planned. It could be that the disruption has only just begun. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
Well, let's speak now to Extinction Rebellion campaigner Emily Grossman, who is in central London for us this morning. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. We can see behind you some of the things you are trying to achieve on the banners there. You have, as far as I understand it, 3 main demands. One of those, you want CO2 emissions reduced to almost zero in 6 years' time. Do you think that is actually practically achievable?
It doesn't matter whether it's practically achievable, it needs to be achievable. The UK government have really failed us in terms of bringing down emissions, and if we don't get down to the levels that are advised by the Paris Agreement and by the IPCC, we're going to be in terrible, terrible situation. We need to get down to carbon zero way before 2050 in order to have a chance of meeting this agreement.
OK, when you say you want the government to declare a climate emergency, the government response to that is to say they've already done that. They did it in May.
Absolutely. They say they did that, but they're paying lip service to it. The UK invests more than all the other EU countries in fossil fuel subsidies, and it's still continuing to do so. In the past 5 years, we've invested more than £250 billion in offshore fossil fuels, oil, gas. We've just approved the plans to bring 4 new oil-fired gas-fired turbines at the Drax power station. We're still going ahead with HS2, which is going to be the biggest deforestation project since the beginning of World War I. We're heading for the 6th mass extinction event. It's not just about climate change, but it's also about species loss. We're losing, threatened of extinction is 1 million species across the world. We depend on these species for our food, for our livelihood. We're losing the bees that pollinate the plants that we need to survive. We're losing earthworms that help the soil. We're losing 1 in 5 British mammals is now at threat of extinction. Last year, sorry, 1 in 4. Last year it was 1 in 5, so it really is rising. We haven't seen fossil fuel emissions, well, carbon dioxide levels this high for over 250 million years. And last time that happened, we had 97% of life on this planet was extinguished. So we really need to do something now, and the government has been accused of utter hypocrisy at the fact that they say they're bringing down emissions, but actually they've failed to meet 7 out of their 24 targets to bring down emissions. That was a report that was made by the government's own panel of advisors in just July of this year. Okay. So it's really not happening.
And I'm sure many of our viewers this morning will listen to what you're saying, and they say you're bringing an important message to public attention. How do you balance that with some of the disruption you are causing and some of the anger that you are causing as well by where you are and how much havoc you are bringing to many people's lives? Because I know that is something that you and many other campaigners have thought a lot about, and yet you are causing a number of issues which are really angering people, and some people aren't listening to the message because of that.
Absolutely, and all we can do is apologise and say, look, we're really sorry that we're causing disruption. But if you look at the science, I'm a scientist, and we know that if we don't do this, that in 10, 20, 30 years' time, the amount of disruption that we're all going to face on a daily basis, both here and across the globe, is going to be far, far bigger than anything that we're doing today. You don't tell off your alarm clock, your fire alarm, if it goes off in the middle of the night and wakes you up, if you're going to then die of a fire in the future. That's what we're doing.
The Prime Minister, I'm sure you've heard this quote, but I'll read it to you this morning. He was referred to you and your fellow campaigners as uncooperative crusties who should stop blocking the streets with their hemp-smelling bivouacs.
Well, that doesn't actually represent the people who are down here today. As I'm sure you've seen it on your reports. We are a cross-section of society. I'm coordinating a group called Scientists for Extinction Rebellion. We've had our agreement, our declaration signed by over 160 academics across the world, professors of climate change, people who are coming onto the streets and really making a difference. We've got people from different backgrounds, people different education levels. We've got students, we've got older people. We really do represent everybody. You know, if you come down on the streets, you will see that there are people who represent you, that we're not a load of hippies. Some of us are, right, as well, but you've got people like myself, you've got people like celebrities who are coming down saying, no, something has to happen, it has to happen now. Our government are letting us down.
You talked about some of the disruption you're causing. What about the cost? Spotted that the Met Police Commissioner, Cressida Dick, said that the last demonstrations back in April cost £7.5 million.
Absolutely, we know that. But the Governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, has also said that we're heading for financial instability, and by the time that happens, it will be too late. Extreme weather situations are costing billions and billions of pounds across the globe, all the time. And those extreme weather situations are going to get worse and worse. They're going to be hitting us more and more. Heat waves are being made up to 100 times more likely here and across Europe because of climate change. So there will be disruption. We're also heading for a world where insurance agencies are saying that we're going to become systemically uninsurable. So people are going to be losing an awful lot more money in the future. What we're doing today is really just a drop in the ocean.
Emily Grossman, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. That's Emily, who is one of those campaigners from Extinction Rebellion, who is in London.
We'll be speaking to the Metropolitan Police in about an hour's time, actually, as well. Let's also talk about what's going on with the weather. And Carol is